So now we're going to be making a... That's the sound of my tablet not working because I haven't connected it. A classic problem. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of you. Hold on a minute. Where is that luck? Damn it. This is... oh, here it is. And we are in... And it's plugged in. Now, let's see if it... Okay, it's performing well. Usually if you plug in a tablet while ZBrush is on, you get all kinds of problems. This time, that hasn't exactly happened. So now we'll be making the Baby Yoda with popcorn. Disneyland popcorn. Special flavors. Very sweet. Well, I've never been to Disneyland, so I have no idea. But let's just let this guy enjoy. Well, girl enjoy. I think it's a girl. A bit of popcorn. So the idea is to take the model closest to the new concept and use that to speed up our workflow. This one is a natural contender for that. A few tweaks and we'll get it right and running. Oddly enough, I'm going to start with the smallest bit. And then we are going to rotate it into position. Interestingly, this is I think the only concept where Baby Yoda is in walking mode. Quite an interesting turn of events. Of course, can't use symmetry here, but that is okay. We'll just hide the hands for now. Also, if you've noticed, my other videos have music that is in Star Wars, and that's because Disney tends to either block a video because it has that audio, or take all the money from the ads. Not that there are any ads, unless YouTube decides to put some. I'm guessing it's just the nature of the business and the beast behind the business. It's not a beast. It's Beauty and the Beast. Horrible, horrible joke. So we're just trying to get this going. As well as we can. What is that? Ooh, it's a tongue. You can hide it. Pick this up. Oh, he has one hand up. That's intriguing. We'll do that next. He's actually reaching for his popcorn. Interesting. Beetle. Bottle. And it's actually more elongated this way. Probably adjust it a bit that way. I'm just going to rub this in for the time being. You don't want a hand coming out of his chest. Maybe pushing that a bit inside. A bit more wiggle room. The weather is very dry here in Montreal, even though it isn't snowing. Though I like the snow, I hope it does snow soon. It's the most fun to bike when it's snowing. The most perfect workout you would hope for. If you notice, his back is a bit at an incline, so probably can keep that arrangement. I have no idea what that brush is, but oh my, we should use it at some point. That was a spaceship brush, an IMM brush. What that does is, well, you could try it if you like. I think it was Edge. It's gone. But IMM stands for Insert Multi-Mesh Brush. There are quite a few. There's a gun, there's a tune. I think the spaceship is somewhere here too. I can't seem to find it right now, or I'm blind. But all it does is it takes primitives, and you can select primitives and drag them out on geometry that isn't subdivided. Hopefully you don't sneeze when you do that. So if you click on it, then it's subdivided. It doesn't allow it, but if you didn't have subdivisions, then you could draw all these fascinating shapes, and you could even pick up from the menu here. But we're not here to talk about that right now, so I guess in the nature of tutorials, this is more like a blog, isn't it? I mean, we are explaining a bit of the process here and there, but we're just having fun, to be honest. It's not like you're really expected to learn something from this, or maybe you are. I'm not entirely sure. I guess it depends on your takeaway. But the most I can say is that this is a... oh crap, what the hell? Oh man, this is one of those programs that requires you to keep practicing, and then before you know it, you suddenly get really quite good at it. And then you can look into becoming top tier, whatever that is. It feels a bit like Matthew McConaughey's videos on his YouTube channel. Yeah, he has a YouTube channel. They found out about it. They, as in the internet. And then he got a lot of followers, and I think he hasn't posted since then. So, if you want to break from this, you should go and see Matthew McConaughey's channel. He's the guy who played Van Zandt. I seem to have done something. So when you see there updating subdivision geometry, it's either you've added dynamic subdivision or you've subdivided your model. So Control Z it, or you could also delete the higher subdivisions if you don't need them. But if they're there, that's fine too. Actually, it looks quite interesting even standing this way. But of course, the walk adds a lot more dynamism to him. Oh, her. Well, I guess it's okay. It's a Yoda species. I think that comes first. It's a lot smaller than that. Bunch it up a little bit. Try to get a good idea of how things fold up. Push this in. Bunch this up here. So like I said, this body is quite interesting, as is as well, so could duplicate it if you want to keep a copy, no problem. And since we are following the concept quite exactly, need to ensure that it looks like what we've got going. Oops. Fine, there. Just disable symmetry with X. Click and drag. Drag out. Drag a little bit in. Click, drag. Rotate. Rotate, rotate, rotate. And move. Move. There you go. Bring this down a little bit to show a little bit of a cloth sort of falling down. You notice in the concept she has a bit of folds back here. Very nice little touch, I think. That's how the geometry seems to be flowing back there, if you can see it. It's probably a little more forward than that, so use that orbs brush to build that fold up. Use the pinch brush to get it a little tighter. Tighten it up. Oh my god. Reduce the size of that. Yeah, there you go. That's good. Dig in, dig in. You can be a bit liberal with it, but just trying to get it to match relatively well. Like there is a bit of pressure happening here, seeing as you know, there's not as much pressure on the heel as there is on the ball of the foot, I believe that's what it's called. Kind of like you are pushing down on it to lift off the ground. Give just that much support as you would need if you check the floor, to really push off, have that leg up in the air, which is what we're doing next. We have only 1 foot here. Maintain a bit of a tilt there. Move it in. Move it to the side. Move it a little bit this way. Tilt it a little bit down. And then, oops. Click, 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 click with the mask control. Click, click, click. Makes the mask less, well, it shrinks the mask, or rather blurs the mask in a way. I think the right terminology would be grow and shrink. Yeah. Or is it sharpen? That was one of the two. But it gets the job done, which is what matters. We kind of tilt the foot a little bit so it looks like as if he's got a bit of a, she's got a bit of a spring in her step, I suppose. That's the right term. Wow. I've also noticed a curve on the clothes. Need to work on that too. Push it a little bit inside and take your brush, nudge it out a little bit as it is in the concept. Pretty good. Now here is where it gets interesting. We need to move this up like if we would actually take a bunch of clothing. When you do this sort of movement, you can actually bunch a lot of the geometry together. Of course, in this case, leg's kind of coming out of somewhere, so you know, you need to accommodate for that too. And again, we're gonna push this inside a little bit. Oh my god. Sorry about that. I get a bit freaked out when I see weird shit happening. I said shit. Well, this is not shown on the children's channel, so I guess it's okay. Well, it's not the worst thing I've said. But, and again... It looks pretty okay. Move topology to extend that a little bit more. If you have a few additional folds, the concept doesn't. It's kind of alright. If you want to be really precise, then you can of course add a bit more than you need. Yes, this is like the notch where that box goes. Fatten the leg a little bit, just a little bit. There you go. This seems reasonable. Punch this up a little bit. A little full definition here. Mind you, all of this will be joined later on. Unless, well, that kind of calls for it depending on if you're 3D printing. If you plan to do a 3D print of this, then maybe you have to consider there are a few special considerations in how to arrange a model and split it depending on the size, and more importantly, the size of your printer bed. So if your printer bed is small and you just do not have the space, then you kind of need to accommodate that request. The gods of the printers, printerland, printer heaven. It is not a bad idea to delete higher since we don't have any detail and it was an accidental division. Try to ensure that it's relatively tilted as needs to be. It needs to be tilted a lot more. Eyes are freaking me out, something awful. That is easily fixed. Or not, depending on how you see it. Okay, I guess that's fine. You're not going to see them anyway. She's got her eyes tightly closed. There's not a gap in sight. You gotta know how that goes. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah, looks very weird. I'd like it filled up. But what you can do is maybe increase your intensity, turn transparent on, and make a little notch here. Something like that. So that gives the idea that, you know, the plot kind of went in down there. And there was a little bit of a gap for the neck, but really interfering way too much with the printer process. Wow, the head is quite tilted, isn't it? Man, it's like an extreme tilt. And maybe not at the angle, but certainly like, oh wee. Neck looks a bit like a snail. It's like a cat snail creature thingy. Very fascinating. Indeed, very much so. Let me pull this up a little bit. Pull this up a little bit. And pull this forward a little bit. And push this in a little bit. You know, as I do these, I guess I get a bit more confidence to talk too. Because that's kind of the nature of 3D nowadays. It's like, I guess you are always working on your craft and doing well on the job, but you are an artist. And in that sense, in many ways, you are a performer. And in that regard, what you're trying to do is to show your best in front of your audience, especially given that it is possible to reach your audience. I don't have an audience yet, I think, unless there's some creepy people watching through the dark web. But I don't think we have that risk. However, with what we've got going so far, it's a pretty interesting way to go about it. What I mean is, like, when you have the opportunity to directly engage with your audience, you should do so, regardless of what you're trying to do. It just has to have one element that is important in it: having fun. If you enjoy what you do, you won't sound like a complete idiot when you do it in front of an audience. Or you might, and you might attract a different sort of crowd because people think you're an idiot. But it's the internet. I think everyone's a bit of an idiot. Everyone. If you know what I mean. But that's the nature of the beast. No, in this case it's not the beast, it's, well, the internet and the crowd that happens to frequent its hallowed dark halls. But enough about that weird stuff. This is going well. Always try to, sorry, that was going too far. Always try to refine the model a wee bit. Let's see, add a bit of flair, or a bit of class, or I'm just mumbling nonsense. I meant like, that looks weird. Thing is, I'm pretty sure that she's hollow under there, and probably wearing a bloomer of some sort. That would be an interesting concept, a Baby Yoda in a bloomer. I hope to realize that someday. Steal my ideas, but it's okay in a way. Crazy. What the hell is S? Ah, there. This brush, my modified clay brush. That makes my job a little easier. And if you want to use it, all you have to do is turn the Z intensity to 10, and you kind of get it. If this model is 3D printed, it's going to be a wee bit complicated in posing this thing, having it stable enough, don't you think? And again, we'll figure something out when the time comes. Looks pretty snazzy. Seems to be a little weight to the cloth, at least I seem to think so. If you disagree, put it down in the comments. Tell me to F off, and we will have ourselves a... Okay, maybe don't do the last part, but if you have any concerns, anything at all, you could speak into a bottle and you sound like you're on a microphone, like the traditional mics that echo through the halls and scare the daylights out of the pigeons. But regardless of all that interesting stuff, we have almost completed this. The expression is quite interesting. For the time being, she's pursing her mouth like the previous iteration of this model. Something we clearly do not want. So take your move topology brush. Don't yawn like me and don't be a lazy person. And smooth it out. Pull out a little bit. Push up a little bit. We're gonna kind of keep that chin, chinny chin, chin, and the cheek, cheeky cheek, cheek, and stop mumbling like an idiot. That's all good. Get that smile going, you cheeky child, you. So cut that in there a little bit of a slight flair, a little pizzazz. I don't even know what that word means actually. And you kind of got it. Oh, she seems to have a bit of that going on there, punching against her cloth. We could definitely accommodate that little oddity, that little detail, that little aspect that makes this sculpt so dear. Actually, it's kind of in place already. Just need to pull it out a little bit and pull it up a little bit. Ooh, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I guess, wherever you may be. Doesn't this guy live in the desert? Girl. Doesn't this girl live in the desert? Or she travels around in space? I don't know. I haven't even seen the show. I don't have a television. Well, I kind of do. I got it for free from a person who asked me if I was a Trump supporter. I said no at the time, and I got a television. Now that's kind of weird when you think about it, because I wasn't really myself at the time. I was very tired after having danced with fishermen, and on my way home from a concert, which I decided to attend despite my condition, and I was in no way responsible for my responses. However, that is what he wanted to hear, and that is what I happened to say, so in that way, it seems like it benefited us both. I made his day, and he made me an owner of television. So I have an interesting setup. I have a screen here, that screen you're looking at here, and above, if you can see, with this weird angle I have set up, a television in the heavens. I feel like a computer hacker, though I don't know jack about that. So, coming back to this, now all she needs are her hands back, so let's turn them on, and they are in their pose as they were before, and I don't generally do product placement, and this is not product placement, but since we are talking of green things, eat Coty Cook ice cream. It's a really nice flavor, the pistachio one. Keeps you going. It's the worst branding for that product, but, well, it's okay. Interesting way to go about it. But I ate it, and it made me feel good, so if ice cream makes you feel good, and it makes you a better sculptor, then by all means you should be eating more of it. And if you're into other things that we won't mention here, then you should do more of that too. But always in a sense of balance. Never go out too far, never drink too much, or, I don't know, do too much drugs or something. I can't believe I'm saying this when I'm sculpting a child. However, this is no ordinary child. This child is going to be a Jedi Master? I don't know. Kind of inevitable. At one point it will end up holding a lightsaber or something, or at least controlling one. But a fascinating idea. It would be a fascinating moment. A lot of memes will arise of it on the internet, and a lot of people will be quite happy. When in doubt with thumbs and fingers and such, always look at your own hand to figure out what the hell is going on. Like, for example, here there's 2 digits, or, well, the joint needs to be here, and I had just 1. But it is a kind of a stylized creature in a sense, so you could probably make a few exceptions, but you do want it to look relatively like a normal thing. You know, you don't want to have any obvious irregularities like the third arm or third eye. Though I usually think that this species has a third eye, and it's what makes it quite special. So we can always, you know, have that sort of thing going when we I don't know what I was saying back then, but what I meant is that if you look at your arm and your hand while you are sculpting, and it gives you a much better idea of where you're going wrong or if you are doing it right. Turn on back face masking, otherwise you end up getting really thin fingers, like salad fingers, and that is a very interesting show, but we shall probably not talk about it here. I think the main character in that show is also green in color. Kind of a oddball, but I just think they're quite special. Oh man, I guess I just left this as a sphere. I just never remeshed it at all. No wonder it's giving me such weird geometry. So we need to attend to that quite soon. So then, now that that's done, divide it up a little bit and push it up, push it down, push it round and round. Well, not round and round, screw up otherwise like a dumb shit, but that's alright. I mean, like, you don't want to be a dumb shit when you make this stiff. It's a wise character. It requires the dignity of its maker, which isn't me, someone from Disney, but I am making this, so I kind of owe it that much. Oh man, what's going on up here? So your measure is very, very precise on even the slightest nicks. When that happens, use your trim dynamic brush and blast through it like no tomorrow. And then zero mesh it again, and you have a new, brand new, relatively new, somewhat new, maybe as new as it can be, piece of clay. Thought I was going to say crap, wasn't I? Wasn't going to be that easy. Well then, so now we add a little bit of perspective here, and a little bit of shaping there, a little bit of shaping here, a little bit of shaping here and here. Am I here? Oh, here, okay. Shape this a little bit, a little ball here. This is something I actually do during the detailing step, so I probably won't pay too much attention to it right now. But it is still good to get it going. I don't quite know what's happening there with his arms. It's a little weird there, but I think I will honor that as much as I possibly can. I'll rotate it a little bit so it does look like a slight bit of a claw, kind of clawing off the fingers. You know, like not too much, but just enough that it gives the appearance that is sought, and it is relatively clear and, you know, crystal in many ways quite nice to see. There you go. It is kind of a weird pose, really, but I guess once we put the box in there, we'd have a better idea of what's going on there. Like, I do feel like it's more of a kind of balancing act going on here with this particular way of holding boxes. I don't even know if it has teeth, actually. But then it's popcorn, so I guess you can kind of use your gums to chew into them. Gums are strong if you use them correctly, I guess. At least you don't have any risk of breaking them. But you might cause a bit of a recession, so you've got to be a bit careful there. That's fine, I guess. You just need to bring that arm a bit closer. Not to mention that we actually have a better arm here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one, or rather we'll just hide it. Take this one and duplicate it with our trusty subtool master, mirror it, append it, click, move it up there, rotate it as you would do. You know, there was a time when ZBrush used to not duplicate very well, and then you had to press it so many goddamn times, and then it would duplicate a little bit more each time, and you would just not know what the hell is going on, and then suddenly it would work, and then you would get along with the program, and then you would forget that that nonsense ever happened. However, this program right now is quite good, so it doesn't happen, and it actually makes you sculpt or want to sculpt a lot more. I like this design, so I'm just gonna duplicate it and hide it, make a huge mess of my subtool layers, because I don't arrange them, at least not right now, but I will at some point. So, oh my god, look at that. This is what happens when you don't hide something, or you select something that is hidden, and then you mess up. So just select something that isn't hidden, hide the stuff that was supposed to be hidden, and then rotate it, and you will be quite okay. Rotate it a little bit more this way. It also needs a bit of rotation this way, so that it's not, you know, bending like a craziness. Click and drag down, reselect it, pull it out a little bit, and rotate it. And you have a nice grabbing arm, sort of. Not quite ready yet, but it will be soon. Select this thing here, mask, unmask, click, drag. Well, not click, drag, just click. Rotate, draw your transpose line, and click in this way. Click with your move transpose line tool. Learn to use those fast. They will help you very, very much. And honestly, the way with most ZBrush things, you just have to keep doing them, and they just end up working out quite well for you. That is just the nature of the program. It's like if you were to play with a ball of clay, it would eventually get accustomed, or you would get accustomed to manipulating it rapidly, and before long it would be like using a keyboard. I'm not even looking at it while I am, you know, using the navigation tools. They come naturally to me, as to most other people who've been using ZBrush for a long, long time. So that's what you have to do. I don't know if that tune is copyrighted, but I was trying to sing something. The church copyrights those tunes. That would be hilarious. It's quite interesting, but there's a little bit of a tilt required. Holding popcorn with 3 fingers isn't easy. Quite sure of that. Man, that would be weird. I guess we can just tilt the whole thing. Yeah. You just need it to look relatively close to what we have here in J.Shari's work. And so I'm a little confused about like whether she has opposable thumbs. She ought to, because it would be very difficult to hold frogs and other things. It's so weird. I really need to watch that show. feel like I'm missing out. You think I'm missing out? I think I'm missing out. But all in due time, I will get my chance, and we'll see. And we'll see the show as it's meant to be seen on the big screen, which I kind of own. Not supporting Trump. I have no political affiliations. Not with the Senate, not with the Sith, not with the Jedi. That's one thing I've been thinking about, making a whole stream sounding like Darth Sidious. That guy played that character from the beginning to the end. And I don't know if I actually sound like him, but I could try. Once more the Sith will rule that galaxy. Yeah, you get stressed, you get all wrinkly. It's never a good thing. Always use anti-wrinkle cream, or rather just stay healthy so you don't have to spend so much money on those sort of things. You're too young for that, my dear audience. Unless you're not, you still shouldn't use those creams. Unless I endorse them, then don't listen to me. A lot of weird things going on with this thing. It's fat and bulky. Okay, that's better. I think this suits it in a way. I do tend to feel like her foot is a bit more out, so I'm just going to exaggerate it a little bit. The rotation is pretty okay, should be a little outside, and then I'm just going to drag this out a little bit more. Pull that so she looks like she's tilting a little bit. Actually, we'll leave it that way. She kind of kicks her leg up, so I'll lift it up a little bit. Pretty damn interesting, don't you think? All this Baby Yoda, and there's so much to learn from just a small series of sculpts, all done masterfully by Miss J.Shari Ewing. Really amazing. Go to her shop and raid it. Such incredible talent. Truly fascinating. It's an interesting expression, I must admit. Quite fascinating. It's a very intriguing character. Um, yeah, there you go. Hands probably need to be a little smaller, I think. Kind of large. At least this one should. The other one looks okay. This looks alright. Just inflate it a little bit. Okay. You may consider putting a little box in her hand. Oh my god, that's a huge box. We need a smaller box, or just use these handy, how do you say, size? Reduce the size. So I think we are due for a save. So we're going to do that first. Okay, we're going to save this model as Baby Yoda 6. Always save, because when it crashes and you scream like a crazy person, it's not a good thing. Always have a sense of humor, but it's never a good thing to lose work, especially if you've been working on it quite hard and then it's all gone. We've all experienced that at some point. It's actually a relatively good fit. Needs to be rotated a little bit. It's a bit of an interesting thing that it's not exactly as flush as it needs to be. Or flush enough. It's a little confusing as to how it actually fits in that and still manages to squeeze into that, so I'm thinking that maybe it needs to be a little inclined. Pushed in as much as possible, without any issues there. Her arm's really, like, it's just really out, actually. That's crazy. I think she could potentially do that high of a kick. No, I don't think I want that. I'm going to stick with this. I'm just going to adjust this box, I'm going to thin it as much as I possibly can while keeping it relatively fresh. I'm also going to incline the box a little bit more, like this. Shape it a little bit more. No, just focus on the box. You don't have to modify that, right? This way. I think I've taken a few liberties with the box. Not really an issue. But, I mean, ultimately it is the general aesthetic. While being true to the concept, you still try to match as much as possible. Too much interference to the sculpting process. Kind of looks weird. But then I think it's mainly because this needs to be depressed considerably. And most of it anyway. I would replace this one with a more streamlined version. It's a bit too soft, so I just replace it with one that is not soft. Actually, that YouTube thing with music kind of dawned on me that it doesn't seem like most people are able to monetize anything anymore. If the copyright holder takes everything. So the moment you use music that is copyrighted, you lose all monetization. I don't know if that was always a thing or it just happened right now. It's quite intriguing. It looks pretty okay. It's a square box. It has round edges like that, so just have to square that up a little bit. And divide it a little bit. Looks like she's carrying a piece of bread. It is not a box at all. It's trying to be. Nonetheless, it's fine, no problem. Yeah, hand is actually a lot lower, isn't it? Okay, we can arrange that, no problem. Start by moving that down. This is the worst looking, most damaged popcorn box. Maybe I should put gold filling in it and turn it into that wabi sabi thing. Is it wabi sabi? Sure. It's the principle that something that isn't perfect doesn't need to be perfect. You celebrate the flaws. Not entirely sure if this is pressing against it, but that modification can be made. I think this works. A bit more cheek. Healthy yawn. Shows I'm having fun as opposed to too much fun, so I'm tired. I think this is good enough for the time being. Okay. Alright, good. That's good enough, I think. Save it. The fun part of posing all of them side by side. Make them really small this time because there's quite a few. Hey, where the legs go? It's not the right one. I really need to do something about that one's eyes. Man, so scary. This is the most fun part. Yeah, I'm gonna tweak this one a lot. I'm just gonna. God, it looks freakier, but that's fine. Oh man, he needs that lollipop desperately. Or the ice cream bar, I guess it is. Yeah, needs that like now. Oh man. This one will be the last one, so I guess this first one that led to so many more. Oh yeah, that was modified. Get rid of 5, I believe. Yeah. Mhm. So there we have it. It's an even number again. Until next time.